So if you're watching this video, you may be thinking about actually leaving the US. And whenever I get excited about something, all the information I search for is always in favor of what I want. So if I want to leave the US, I'm going to look up videos. For example, here's why people are leaving the US and they're moving over here. Now, that's exactly what this video is fully about. But I also want to put you on to something, and that's this book called Acres of Diamonds. And that book is amazing because it talks about people that want to move somewhere else to get opportunities, to get something else. But in reality, while they're trying to do that and only thinking about that, they never actually see all the opportunities that are actually available where they actually are. So yes, I left the US. I'm very happy with my decision. Probably the best choice I ever made, but it just wasn't about money. You know, I'm like from here. I was born in Dominican Republic. My family's here. I wanted to start a family. I wanted to set down some roots. I wanted to actually just be home. And plus, there are a whole bunch of financial benefits. I can basically be financially free here, not have to worry as much about work, and just have a lot more freedom overall. But my main decision-making, idea, it wasn't necessarily just money. So keep that in mind as you watch this video, and also keep in mind that there are people here that are only thinking about leaving here and going to the US, and people in the US thinking about, hey, I want to come over here. So there's always this thing going on. So just make sure your choices are made, you being sound in mind and actually calm and thinking things through. So now, the very first thing, guys, is do me a favor and smash the like button. I appreciate it a ton, and let's get right into this video. Now, there are three main reasons that I kind of look at when I'm actually seeing people actually leave the US. And the number one reason is going to be the cost of earning money is just too high. The average American right now, believe it or not, works around 2,080 hours. Now, I know that probably doesn't sound like a lot, but that's around 260 working days, okay? Basically saying it's around 260 days you actually work 8 hours a week. And when you actually do the math, that's around like you working every single week out of the year. And the average person, they may get about 2 weeks free a year. Now you tell me, right? Is that a good life? A life where you get 2 weeks out of an entire year. Out of 52 weeks, you get 2 weeks for you and 50 weeks for your actual employer. Do I like that? The answer is no. Do I look forward to that? The answer is no. So looking outside of the US, there might be a lot of opportunities where, hey, I can work less, earn half the money, live a better life, and basically just have a lot more freedom. I'm gonna give you more ideas and places to actually go to later on in this video. Now, the second reason people are actually leaving is actually the culture. American culture has shifted. It has changed, okay? So for example, back in the days, okay, in the 1900s, 1960s, people used to love kids. But now it kind of seems like, for example, kids are just like a liability. And society as a whole and the culture as a whole makes it seem like you cannot afford children. They're gonna cost you over 200 grand in 18 years. It's crazy, you can't afford them. But the truth is, that's not actually true. And if you actually look into it, guess what? Kids are just, for example, just feed them a little bit more food, okay? You're buying a little bit more food. When you're thinking about, hey, I gotta put them in a private school, I gotta get a new house, I gotta get this, and I gotta get to college and stuff, that's when things get expensive. For the most part, kids are not liabilities. Kids are going to be assets. They're actually human beings. You can't look at them that way, okay? Second thing, guys, okay, is going to be marriage, okay? Divorce rate right now is about 42%. We live in a world where everything is just about things don't work out, we're going to divorce. I remember I saw this video and the guy was like, we've been married for over 40 years. And yes, we had a ton of arguments, but guess what? Arguments don't lead to, hey, I'm leaving, I'm quitting. They lead to, hey, we need to figure this out because we're both in this for the long haul. And the third reason, guys, is going to actually be the traps are just too expensive and they're just too embedded in the culture. So for example, okay, student loans are a part of the culture. You graduate, everyone's telling you to go to college even though you can't afford it. Also, credit cards are embedded into the culture. Hey, you know what, you need credit, so get a credit card. Also, mortgages are embedded into the culture. You also have, for example, car loans. And lastly, you have the idea of working forever. When everyone is living a mediocre lifestyle, guess what? you are going to be living also a mediocre lifestyle, because these same people are going to tell you, hey, this is just how things are, although they're not how things can actually be, okay? And by the way, there are a lot of strange ideas in the US, but again, I also want to tell you, okay, that when people are excited about leaving somewhere, they're always like, yeah, Tommy, these are all the reasons why I want to leave, man. It's like, I just don't like it here anymore. But the truth is, guys, there are people out there in the US that they're wealthy, they're frugal, they have paid off vehicles, they live very good lives, because remember, there aren't just $400,000 houses. There are houses that cost like 60 grand. There aren't just jobs that take up all your time. There are jobs you can actually work part-time and earn a decent amount of money. There aren't just $700 per month car leases, or for example, even like car loans. There are cars you can pay cash for $1,000 or $2,000. The point is, guys, there are a lot of opportunities also in the US. So also consider that. I always like to weigh things out when I'm making a decision, the pros, the cons, and this makes me actually just be a lot more sober when it comes to my decision making. Now you're probably wondering, all right, Tommy, I get that part, but where exactly should I be thinking about moving to, and what should I be worried about, okay? If you're a parent, most parents are basically worried about the school system. They're worried about, hey, can I find, for example, a good public school or a good private school that's going to teach my kids so they can have a better future? The truth is, guys, that's also an idea I stopped buying into. It's basically the school system doing my responsibility as a parent to actually teach my kids. So I'm a big fan now of what is called homeschooling, all right? So if you're worried about schooling, just do your own homeschooling. And if you're moving out of the US, guess what? You're going to have a lot more free time and your money is going to go further. So in reality, you probably don't even have to work like you used to. And if you have a two-parent household, well, probably most likely one of you guys is not even going to have to work whatsoever. You can take that time to actually just homeschool your kid. It's cheaper. It's better. It takes less time. You can spend time with your kids a lot more, and it's one of the best investments. When I think about people saying, I don't like homeschooling, it's going to take so much time, the answer is, well, what do you prefer spending that time? People spend, for example, like 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours on a phone. Do you rather spend that on a phone, or do you rather spend that instilling values and just teaching your kid the things you want them to learn and the things you think are actually valuable, instead of actually having some strange teacher sometimes, because there are good teachers out there, by the way, but there are a lot of strange ones out there, putting some crazy ideas into their heads, okay? It's wild, okay? Well, you ever had, I mean, if you don't have any kids, and I don't have any kids yet, but there are parents out there, they're like, yo, where did you learn this from? Like, yeah, you didn't learn it at home. You learn it from school, and that's a true thing, okay? Now, you also are probably wondering about safety, and safety to me, honestly, is subjective, and it depends a lot on basically how much you're actually paying to where you actually live, basically, and also the type of lifestyle you actually have. So it's where you actually live and the lifestyle. So for example, when I moved to Puerto Rico, everyone was so worried about me. They were like, Tommy, it's so dangerous. There's always something going on that island. People basically don't make it back home and this and that. But I was like, I don't think so, okay? So I moved to a place called Carolina. So that's like Carolina. And in my neighborhood, which is Villa Carolina, my neighborhood, guys, was just filled with just like old folks. So guess what? I'm living in an area where there's not a lot of action going on, where it's just like extreme boredom, where the most exciting thing that happens is that my neighbor, he fell down or something like that, okay? Or my neighbor is complaining about his grass not being cut. I like that type of excitement. And then lastly, my lifestyle, okay? I wasn't spending a lifestyle in Puerto Rico where I was going out at night, for example, to club or to go to strange places and to do that or that. No, it was basically at home, working, at church, in the gym, buying groceries, maybe hanging out with friends to eat something during the day and so on, and just staying around the places I actually know, okay? So that has a lot to do with it. Now, does that mean you have to live in an expensive place? The answer is no, because also here where I live now in Dominican Republic, this is just a small town. It's a normal town, and guess what? I feel pretty safe here because again, it also has to do with basically how do you live, okay? So I live a very normal life. I have a small apartment, have a normal car, I wear normal clothes, and I look like this, okay? I haven't even gotten a haircut, and I have like this whole little beard thing going on, okay? So I need to get a haircut, by the way. Don't think this is like a good example, like to live like this. But yeah, you know, like I just look like a normal person. But if you're here in a place basically, and you just basically stand out because you like attention, guess what? You may become a target. And that's very true. So here's my list of places that I actually recommend you consider to actually move. Number one is going to be Dominican Republic. Why? Honestly, I'm biased. I actually love it here. Now, if you're like me, you can get away with mostly living just about anywhere, whether it's Santiago, whether it's Punta Cana, the capital, San Pedro, I don't even know, like what's it called, like Puerto Plata and all that stuff. But again, a lot of places that are touristy, they're going to be more expensive. A lot of places that are basically just like more like, you know, like small towns and so on, they're going to be less expensive. But again, it's all relative to how much you make and what you actually want. So if you want to live like comfortably, then the capital, I mean like Santo Domingo, that's the capital, or Punta Cana, those are great places, but you may be paying rent like maybe like $1,200, $2,000. But again, you may be getting a very nice house, okay? A very nice apartment. So these are things to consider. It's not going to be the same as the US. You're gonna have a better lifestyle here by far. But if you move somewhere, for example, like more like just normal, you might be paying like I do. I pay $160 a month for rent, a 2-bedroom apartment. But there's also like $400 a month, which is actually amazing, but I'm not willing to pay it, okay? So it all depends where you actually live. Recommendation, do not buy unless you're ready to set down roots, because in the DR, it's not like Zillow, man. You buy something, you sell tomorrow. Doesn't work like that. Things take time to actually sell. At least, for example, where I'm from right here, okay? But Punta Cana, Santo Domingo may be a lot more faster because you have a lot more people and a lot more money. And don't believe the hype. Dominican Republic is a third world country, but it has, for example, some first world amenities in a way, and some first world, basically every place has nice places, okay? America has some places where you don't want to go, all right? But then it has places where you do want to go. Same thing here, okay? So just consider that. Now, number two is going to be Puerto Rico. I think Puerto Rico is a very nice place. For the most part, you're going to be talking English because everyone speaks English. You're going to feel familiar with everything because it's basically an American place, because you have all the stores, you have all the culture, all that stuff. Very familiar. But rents and houses are a lot more cheaper, and your money can go a long way. So you might be paying, for example, $400, $700 for a house to rent, or $800 or $1,200 again. And remember, things get more expensive as time goes on, but some things are going to be more expensive. For example, if you're living on an island, buying a car is always going to be more expensive, okay? Getting food, usually a tiny bit more expensive if it's not grown where you're actually living. So those are some things to actually consider. There are cheap things, but there are also expensive things. But when you look at the overall picture, is basically what things do I actually need? Shelter, utilities, groceries, transportation. If those things are less expensive, then guess what? I'm probably gonna be just fine there. Then I also recommend, lastly, my last recommendation, guys, here is actually going to be Europe. I actually found out that about 26% of the people that are actually leaving the US are going to Europe. I have never been to Europe, honestly, but I can't tell you I recommend it, but maybe I do recommend you actually visit it. And here's why, okay? Statistics show that people are actually going there and they're actually liking it. But me personally, I had my uncle and I had my cousin, and also like my other cousin, a few people that I basically know, okay? And they went to Europe and they're like, I wish I actually lived here. The culture is nicer, the people are nice, everything is just much slower, the food is amazing, I just like it, all right? Now, you gotta remember, being somewhere for a vacation and living somewhere is a lot more different. So these compliments, they may just be bias, okay? They may just be vacation bias. So I always recommend, when you're going somewhere, just basically get an Airbnb, try it out for 6 months or 3 months, okay? See if you actually like it. And then basically, if you want to go there, just don't make any real commitments like buying a home, or for example, selling everything you have until you're pretty sure you actually want to be there. That's my point, all right? Yeah, that's basically it, guys, okay? But thanks for watching this video. I hope it actually helps you. Comment down below, though. I just gave you 3 options, right? So which options are you actually considering? Are you looking into Colombia, into Portugal, into Jamaica, maybe, into some British Virgin Islands? There are a lot of, or maybe, for example, more South America stuff, okay? Like maybe you're thinking about Cuba. Just kidding, all right? But Costa Rica, I've heard great things about Costa Rica. Or maybe you're thinking about maybe China. Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and peace.